My friend told her boyfriend I was her soulmate, then set my life on fire when I corrected him. I'm still reeling from the past few months, trying to piece together how a casual friendship spiraled into a vortex of manipulation that nearly cost me my own relationship and my sanity. It all started with a girl named Harper, and a lie so unnecessary it still boggles my mind. Harper and I, Ben, moved in the same extended social orbit for about 4 years. We met at a charity run our company sponsored. I was there with my department. She was with hers, and we got paired to hand out water bottles together. She was funny, sharp, and we had a good rapport. We connected on social media, and that was that. Our interaction was limited to liking each other's posts, occasional comments, and seeing each other at the big annual company galas or the rare large group happy hour. We were friendly, not friends. There was never any depth, no shared secrets, no solo coffee runs. Then, about 8 months ago, Harper started dating James. James worked in a different industry altogether. I met him once at a crowded bar when a bunch of us went out. He seemed nice, a bit reserved, with a firm handshake and polite smile. He was clearly trying to get to know Harper's world. After they got together, Harper's behavior toward me shifted seismically. The occasional comment on my Instagram photo turned into daily messages. It began innocuously. Saw this article on quantum computing and thought of that crazy theory you mentioned once. I'd mentioned no such theory. Then it escalated. She'd send me songs at 1 a.m. with "This is our song now, LOL." She'd tag me in memes about besties who get each other's weirdness. In our large group chat, she'd start addressing questions specifically to me, creating a false sense of private rapport in a public space. It was flattering at first, then confusing, then just plain weird. The real alarm bells started ringing when she began suggesting we catch up one-on-one. James is working late on his big project. She'd text, "Come keep me company? We can order Thai and trash talk that terrible new streaming show." I always declined. I'm in a committed, happy relationship with my girlfriend, Kara, of 3 years. The thought of secretly hanging out alone with another woman, especially one who was suddenly acting so familiar, felt deeply wrong and disrespectful to Kara. I'd make polite excuses. "Sorry, plans with Kara tonight," or "swamped with work, maybe another time with the group." I mentioned the strange shift to Kara, who shrugged it off with her typical grace. Maybe she's just lonely and you're a safe ear. Or maybe she's trying to make James jealous. Either way, just keep your boundaries clear. I did, or so I thought. The confrontation happened at a colleague's rooftop barbecue. Kara was with me. Harper was there with James. I noticed James watching me throughout the evening, his expression unreadable. When Kara went to help our host bring out dessert, James approached me, his posture tense. "Ben, got a sec?" he asked, gesturing toward the quieter end of the rooftop. We leaned against a railing, the city lights twinkling below. He was silent for a long moment, swirling the beer in his bottle. "I need to ask you something man to man," he finally said, not meeting my eyes. "What's the deal with you and Harper?" I was baffled. The deal? We're colleagues. Friends, I guess. We hang out in the same crowd sometimes. He shook his head, a bitter smile playing on his lips. "That's not what she says. She says you two have a deep connection, a meeting of minds. She calls you her emotional anchor, her soulmate in a platonic sense." He spat the last word out like it tasted bad. "She says when I'm busy or distracted, she comes to you, that you have these long, profound talks at your place that help her through everything." My blood ran cold. "James, I swear to you, on everything I care about, that has never happened. Harper and I have never been alone together outside of work functions. She's asked, I've always said no. I have a girlfriend. I love my girlfriend. Harper is a colleague. He looked at me, searching my face for deceit. She told me about the Thai food nights, the late-night phone calls when she's upset about her family, the way you just get her in a way I never could. She's lying, I said, my voice low and firm. Ask her to show you the call logs. Ask her to describe my apartment. I've never had her over. Not once. The only person who's had Thai food with me on my couch in the last year is Kara. The confusion and pain in his eyes were heartbreaking. Then why? Why would she say these things? I had no answer. I don't know, but you should ask her. And you should know, for full transparency, that about a year after we met, Harper did ask me out for a drink. I said no, respectfully, because I wasn't interested in dating a colleague, and I valued a professional boundary. She seemed fine with it, and we never spoke of it again. That is the entire extent of our history. James absorbed this, his shoulders slumping. She never mentioned that. She made it sound like you two were destined to be best friends, but the timing was always wrong because of your girlfriend or my insecurities. He let out a shaky breath. Thank you for being straight with me. I feel like an idiot. Don't, I said. You trusted your girlfriend. That's not being an idiot. We rejoined the party. I found Kara and squeezed her hand, needing to anchor her reality. The rest of the evening was strained. Harper was shooting daggers at me with her eyes. I knew a storm was coming. It arrived the next morning via a blistering phone call. What the hell is wrong with you? Harper screamed, dispensing with any greeting. Who do you think you are, talking to James behind my back? You ruined everything. I kept my voice calm, walking into my home office away from Kara. I told him the truth. Harper, you've been telling him elaborate lies about our friendship. We are not best friends. We are not soulmates. We have never spent time alone. Why are you doing this? You should have played along, she hissed. It was harmless. You had one job, to be my friend, and you couldn't even do that convincingly. Being your friend doesn't mean being a prop in your fabricated drama. I shot back. You need to explain to James why you felt the need to invent an entire intimate friendship. She hung up. For days, she iced me out in the group chat, giving me the silent treatment as if I were the one who committed a gross betrayal. Mutual colleagues asked if we'd had a falling out. I just said we had a misunderstanding. I felt angry and used, but also hoped it would die down. I was naive. A week later, Harper showed up at my doorstep, unannounced. Kara was at a yoga class. I should have turned her away, but I wanted answers. She came in, looking contrite. I'm sorry, I yelled. I panicked. He's everything I want, but he's so passive. He takes me for granted. She explained that James, while kind and stable, had become complacent. He'd canceled dates for last-minute work calls, forget important conversations, and generally treat the relationship as a low-priority item in his life. Her previous boyfriend had been chronically unfaithful, and James, knowing this, had promised to be transparent and attentive. That promise, she said, faded after the first few months. So I needed a catalyst, she said, as if describing a business strategy. I needed him to see that I had value, that other men, valuable, committed men, saw me as fascinating and irreplaceable. I chose you because you're safe. You're loyal to Kara. You're respected at work. You're objectively a good guy. You were the perfect benchmark. I listened, disgust growing in my gut. The Thai food nights, the deep talks, all fiction, she admitted, without a shred of remorse. When he'd tell me he had to work late, I'd tell him I was going to your place for dinner and intellectual conversation. I described meals you supposedly cooked, wines you picked, advice you gave. It drove him crazy with jealousy and insecurity. And it worked, Ben. He started prioritizing me. He began planning dates. He listens now. He fights for my attention. All because of the ghost of a competition with you. She leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. And then you had to go and tell him the benchmark was a mirage. You collapsed the entire narrative. Now he thinks I'm a pathological liar. You are being pathological. I exploded. You're manipulating someone you claim to love. You're using my name, my reputation, without my consent, to emotionally blackmail your boyfriend. It's not blackmail, it's motivation, she countered. And it's done now. He's better. Our relationship is better. All I need you to do now is backtrack a little. Just tell him you were downplaying our friendship because you felt guilty, that you care about me but didn't want to come between us. That will fix it. The audacity was breathtaking. No, absolutely not. I will not be complicit in this. You need to tell him the full truth, or I will. Her massive contrition melted into cold anger. Fine, be a self-righteous prick. But if you talk to him, I'll tell Kara you've been emotionally confiding in me for months, that you've been unhappy, that you're the one who's been seeking me out. Who do you think she'll believe? Your new, suddenly clingy friend, or her own suspicions? It was a nuclear threat, and it landed perfectly. The thought of Kara's trust in me being poisoned by this woman's lies filled me with a cold, clarifying fury. Get out of my house, I said, my voice terrifyingly quiet. She left, smugness in her step. I was trapped. If I told James the full truth, Harper would carry out her threat against my relationship. If I stayed silent, I was enabling a terrible manipulation and leaving a decent guy in the dark. I confessed everything to Kara that night, my voice shaking with shame and anger. I showed her the texts, recounted the conversations. To my infinite relief, she didn't hesitate. She held my face in her hands. We are a team. That woman is toxic. We are not letting her bully us into silence. With Kara's unwavering support, we devised a plan. Confronting James directly was too risky. Harper would spin it. We needed evidence. I started meticulously documenting every interaction with Harper, saving her texts, especially the ones asking to meet alone, taking screenshots of her social media tags. Kara, brilliant and fierce, suggested we create a record Harper couldn't twist. The opportunity came at another work social hybrid event, a networking dinner. Kara, coincidentally, struck up a conversation with James near the buffet, while I was purposefully engaged by a senior partner across the room. Kara, with her disarming warmth, gently steered the talk to relationships, mentioning how important trust was to us. James, perhaps lonely and sensing a safe person, opened up. He mentioned his rough patch with Harper, his confusion about her friendship with me. Kara listened, then said gently, James, I don't know Harper well, but I know Ben, and the person she's describing to you isn't him. Ben hasn't spent an evening away from me in months, unless it's a guy's poker night. The deep talks, the dinners, they never happened. I think you should trust your initial gut. If something feels like a lie, it probably is. It was a seed planted by a neutral, credible source, his girlfriend's partner. I saw the dawning horror on his face from across the room. Later that night, James must have confronted Harper with new resolve, because the fallout was immediate and volcanic. Harper unleashed a torrent of fury on me via text, accusing me of sending my attack dog girlfriend to sabotage her. She threatened again to tell everyone at work that I'd made advances, but the power dynamic had shifted. Kara and I were united, and we were prepared. I replied simply, I have documented every strange message, every inappropriate suggestion, and your admission of using me to manipulate James. Any further attempts to lie about me or damage my relationship or reputation will be met with a full disclosure of this evidence to HR and to our entire social circle. Leave us alone. The silence that followed was profound. A few days later, We heard from a colleague that Harper and James had a catastrophic breakup. James, it turned out, had done some digging of his own, checked phone records, asked pointed questions Harper couldn't answer consistently. The house of cards tumbled down. Harper resigned from the company a month later. The official reason was a new opportunity, but the gossip mill whispered about a nervous breakdown and a need for a fresh start. James, to his credit, reached out to me once briefly. He thanked me for my initial honesty and apologized for being part of the drama. He said he was in therapy, working on his self-esteem, so he'd never again ignore red flags for the sake of comfort. The experience left a stain. It made me question my own judgment. My naivete in thinking friendship was a simple contract of mutual liking. I learned that for some people, friendship is just a tool, and other people are just characters to be placed in the narrative they're writing for themselves. But it also welded my relationship with Kara into something stronger than steel. We faced a malicious external threat together and emerged not just unscathed, but more connected. The chaos Harper tried to breed ended up burning down her own life, while Kara and I, standing firmly together on a foundation of truth, watched the embers fade from a safe and solid distance.